Hey everybody, here's a quick bonus episode, only about 15 minutes long, but it's with two of the most amazing chef talents we have in our state. Both Ashley Christensen and Vivian Howard join us on a phone call to talk about next week's Thrive NC event. That's right, Thrive NC, presented by Blue Cross Blue Shield, is happening on May 9th and 10th, and we were able to get both Ashley and Vivian to talk about the all-star talent they're bringing to the demo stage, as well as these amazing charities they're supporting. And while you're supporting, support our sponsors of the podcast, like Triangle Wine Company, Bestow Baked Goods, and our friends over at the Forrest Firm. For more information, check our social media pages or our website at ncfbpodcast.com. And tune in tomorrow when Amber Felizi of Pizzeria Felizi and Big Dom's Bagels tells their story.
You're listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, coming to you from the Kitchen Studios, located high atop the historic Raleigh building, located in the heart of downtown Raleigh. The NC F&amp podcast takes you behind the scenes of North Carolina's food and beverage industry. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at NCFBpod. And now, the sommeliers to the stars, the barbacks in your backyard. It is Max and Matt.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And today we are talking about Thrive, North Carolina, which is addressing hunger and food insecurity in our great state. And to help us chat about it and shed some light, we have two very special guests that maybe you guys have heard of, small chance. Well, I'll just tell their names and you guys decide. So we have chefs Ashley Christensen and Vivian Howard. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Hi there.
So we are on Zoom. It's a little phone call, so we got to get ready because Thrive NC is coming up in a short few days, May 9th and 10th. And the two of you are bringing a lot of all-star talent to the event and conducting demos. So I'd like to just kind of jump in right there. Ashley, we'll just start with you. What is the importance of you working with Thrive? Why are you working with Thrive NC?
Sure. Well, being a resident of Raleigh, North Carolina, super excited to have an event like this where the community gathers and celebrates all the incredible work that's happening here in the culinary field. And then when we can do that in support of causes in need, of course, it's an awesome way to get together and celebrate. And had the pleasure of being a part of it last year and just really enjoyed the energy that all the folks cooking as well as all the guests brought to those couple of days. Yeah,
and one thing for people listening out there, so this is a 2-night event that happens on May 9th and May 10th in downtown Raleigh. That's just one part of Thrive NC. There are events going on throughout the year. And we are going to encourage you to get involved in them as we go forward. But Vivian, same question to you. How did you get involved with Thrive, and why did you get involved with Thrive NC?
Well, I do a lot of work with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and a lot of that work is around teaching people to make healthier choices in their everyday lives with what they eat, and teaching people to cook, necessarily not always with a recipe. And so I was drawn to the idea of being a part of a festival that had kind of a greater mission. And as Ashley said, it's kind of in our backyard. Well, I'd like to think of Raleigh as my backyard. And last year was a great time and had a really fun energy and people from all walks of life attending, and so I'm excited for this year.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, last year was fun. The both of you did a great cooking demo while there was live music playing in the background. I think you all had to shout a little louder while Joe Kwam was wailing on his cello, but it was it was such a fun experience. But it also brought a lot of awareness and education to things that are important about food insecurity and food deserts that are so prevalent in our state of North Carolina. And so with that, the purpose this year is to also bring a lot more education by diversifying with a lot of chefs. Let's speak to that right here. Let's talk about Thursday. Vivian, that's your night where you're going to host a demo stage, and with that you brought on 3 amazing chefs, kind of both from in and out of North Carolina. Would you care to speak about that and why you chose these chefs?
Sure. I have invited Brian Noyes from Red Truck Bakery in Virginia, Cynthia Wong from Life Raft Treats in Charleston, and Dean Neff from Wilmington. And I didn't choose them because they cook healthy food. I chose them because I like them. And I've been trying to get together with both Cynthia and Brian in North Carolina for some time, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to share my home state with them. And then I try to shine a light on Eastern North Carolina, and Dean Neff is a chef in Wilmington. His wife, Lydia, opened a bakery recently in Wilmington, and I thought that it would be a good opportunity for them to kind of tell their story and talk about his vegetable-centric cooking.
Nice. One question for that, and Ashley, I'll ask you the same thing. With your lineup of chefs demoing, will there be one common thread through the demos?
Me.
There you go.
Well, let's talk about Friday night when Ashley, when you bring on your chefs. Now you threw us for a little curveball by not having just 3 chefs, but in fact 6, and you have them paired up with each other at different times of the night, starting at 6:30 on Friday night. Your first chefs, Marijuana Rani and Chidi Kumar, we all know Chidi has been a close friend of yours. In fact, we mentioned it way back in the day at Terra Vita, where you were her sous chef or her prep cook in the back. Would you talk to us about all the people that you brought together and why for that night?
Sure. I think for Vivian and I both, the sort of common thread and connection with the folks who'll be demoing is really the power of relationships in cooking and how we're all connected to folks all over the state and beyond. And I wanted to put together some folks who I think have, rather it be a common ingredient or a common focus, to create some great conversation up on the stage. And Vivian and I both did demos last year, and I was just really blown away by the reception of the audience, the questions they asked, just how excited and truly engaged this audience was. So it felt like a great opportunity to, approach some fun subject matter. So we've got Marwan working with Chidi, and Marwan has several restaurants, but he also has a spice company that's based in Asheville, North Carolina. And I always, when I'm eating in Chidi's restaurant, I'm really always blown away by how she works with flavors and spices. And her and Marwan happen to be great friends, so I like the idea of them coming together and leading a demo centered around one dish where they could really talk about working with spices in their cooking. And, I think as Vivian mentioned earlier, the idea of not just throwing a recipe at someone, but teaching them to think about something in a new way. From there, we also have Lynn Peterson from Locals Seafood here in Raleigh, and we're bringing in Keith Rhodes from Wilmington, who focuses a lot of his cooking on seafood. And so they're going to be working together on a dish and really talking about sustainable seafood sourcing and just things to be thinking about both when shopping and cooking. And then last, I think the final demo of the night, we've got Vanzana Nolinta of Bitamanda and Brewery Bavana, and we're pairing him up with Michael Lee from M Sushi in Durham, which I just had the most incredible meal there a couple nights ago.
Of course you did.
At M.
He's killing it out there.
And I feel like Van's restaurants, if I don't come in, they call to make sure I'm not sick or anything because we eat there so regularly. But they're going to be focusing on rice, which I think is such a great ingredient. We talk about food insecurity and an ingredient that goes a long way and can be approached in so many different in so many different ways. So I think it's going to be 3 great conversations and some really beautiful food. And for all of the chefs that Vivian and I are inviting to the stage, they'll also be working on dishes in the main dining area that night as well.
Wow, what a fantastic lineup for both nights. That's amazing. You didn't just curate chefs, but you also selected, I believe, 3 each of charities that you want to donate some of the proceeds from each night going to. So can you talk a little bit about which specific charities you chose and why?
We'll start with Vivian.
So I chose the Kanita Family Life Center, the Food Bank of Eastern and Central North Carolina, and FFA, all for kind of the same reason. You know, Eastern North Carolina is a hotbed of hurricanes and wild weather these days. And I've seen the food bank and these community centers like the Kanita Community Center really come together and bootstrap style support the needs of their communities around these disasters. And then FFA is something that is kind of near and dear to my heart, growing up in a rural community and having all my sisters wear those FFA jackets that have not changed to this day. And, you know, I believe that agriculture is really vital to our economy and to life on this planet. And we need young people who are interested in farming and innovative ways, farming sustainability. And FFA is where that starts.
Awesome.
That's awesome. And Ashley, for you?
So we're going to be supporting Alliance Medical Ministry. And this is a group that provides affordable health care to working uninsured adults in Wake County. We are also supporting Meals on Wheels and Band Together, which is focusing on interfaith food shuttle this year. And we've done historically a lot of work with Share Our Strength, which is, of course, a group focused on ending child hunger in the United States. And a while back, we connected with Interfaith, realizing that they were really the boots on the ground group doing the work of Share Our Strength. So they're doing, you know, the Cooking Matters classes, backpack buddies, that sort of work. And I just think they're a fantastic organization. So I think Vivian and I both wanted to focus on causes in our direct communities. And I think we've covered a really great selection given the focus of the event.
That's fantastic. We really applaud you both for helping out and shedding a lot of light. Obviously, none of this could be done without the support of Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina, which is really pulling this all together with an amazing team. Matt, you have any lasting questions before we get out of here?
Just one last one, and I promise this is a softball. Okay, Matt. No facts here. Just no facts, just feelings.
Nothing to Google.
Nothing to Google. No. A lot of people are coming to this event because of you, the star power, the headliners, great food and drink. But, you know, Thrive, as we said earlier, is shedding light on, obviously, hunger and food insecurity. Beyond that, from somebody that's coming from a culinary perspective, what do you hope that they take away after sitting through your demos? Like, if there's one tangible takeaway after leaving Thrive for the night.
I would say, you know, the big takeaway, I think, is the power of the food community to create change and to you know, work on behalf of great causes. And I think when, as chefs, we have the privilege of feeding people, and there's this trust that exists in that relationship. And I know that Vivian and I both take a lot of pride in being able to use that exposure and influence, you know, to help push great causes forward.
Vivian, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with Ashley. I think one of the most striking things about the North Carolina food community is how connected we are and how quick we are to jump on a cause and help make it better. And I hope that people coming from elsewhere or from the community can see that, and also can then possibly imagine how they might translate that feeling of community and responsibility to whatever it is that their work is. Because the food community does this sort of thing in a way that other industries don't necessarily, but it certainly doesn't have to be that way.
Well said.
Well, thank you again for being on our show. Vivian, this is like the fourth time you've been on our show. You've actually co-hosted this thing too. Like, we're going to have to start paying you.
Or at least at a time.
And Ashley, thank you again. This is the second time you've been on the show, or maybe even third time. I think we got you a soundbite from you when we were out at Terra Vita at one time too. So we really appreciate the support that both of you lend, not only to our show, humbly, but to the state. And you guys are our leaders in this industry, in the food and beverage industry. And so hopefully those that attend Thrive NC are going to get a great experience, but anyone that doesn't have the opportunity to experience on May 9th and 10th can also lend their support by going to, well, for one, go to their website, www.gothrivnc.com, to learn more about it. And as Matt said, to continually be aware of things that not only Blue Cross Blue Shield and Thrive NC are doing, but everybody in this community, to help make North Carolina a much stronger food industry and be aware of the people around them. So with that, Matt?
Well said by everybody. So check it out, gothrivnc.com. If you're not there this year, get involved for next year. It's all about educate and activate to help out. And then these 2 nights we celebrate the food community. So everybody check out Thrive NC. You will eat, drink, and feel very merrily.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes, and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.